Good morning, good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. My name is Hermina, and I'm in charge of enrollment at MSM, which means basically I make sure that everything from the first time you get in contact with MSM all the way through to when you are an alumni, that you have a very good MSM experience. A little bit about MSM. We obviously have all the accreditations and rankings that you can dream of. That's very important for an international school, but it's also important for you, for your future degree, to be recognized all over the world. So we are accredited with ATHEA, which is a European accreditation, IACBE, AC, BSP, which are American accreditations, and then AMBA, which is one of the most prestigious accreditations in the world. We are also officially accredited with AMBA. Then something a little bit about MSM is obviously the fact that we are the second oldest business school in the Netherlands. We were established in 1952, which makes us, well, we're getting close to 70 years old now. And but that also means that we know what we're doing. Our MBA has been running for 35 years. And a few years ago, we realized that the MBA obviously focuses on people with work experience, and we were lacking something for high young potentials that had just finished their studies or were into the early stages of their career but wanted to progress faster and needed a little bit of help through a master in management, and that's why we created this program. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the program. But before I do that, I just want to mention a little bit about the Netherlands itself. Obviously, you're joining from all over the world, so I don't know how many of you have been to the Netherlands. It's an amazing country. And Maastricht, a lot of people like to say, obviously, there will always be debates about that, but the region of Limburg, in which Maastricht is in, the province, it's one of the most beautiful areas of the Netherlands. Fun fact for the day, it's also where the European Union, the treaty was signed to create the European Union, simply because of its strategic place. So it is really located in the heart of Europe, and Maastricht is squished in between Belgium and Germany. So you're 10 minutes away from Belgium and 20 minutes away from Germany. The Dutch themselves, the Dutch people are a very motivated, very direct, very open-minded people. And that's also why studying in the Netherlands is such a positive experience for students. So one of the things that is very important to know is that the Dutch are fluent in English. In fact, of all the officially non-English speaking countries in the world, the Dutch speak the best English of all these non-English speaking countries. So they're ranked first in the world for that. Which also means that if you do want to find a job and stay in the Netherlands later, you do have an advantage in comparison to some of the other European countries where you will have to learn to speak the local language. The Netherlands also has an excellent education system, and this is specifically for the higher education where it's based on problem-based learning. Now at MSM, we take it one step further and we do case-based learning. So we combine problem-based with case-based, where you learn by doing, you learn by discussing real cases, real problems with companies and in groups and in individual assignments. You try and apply the knowledge that you're learning to these real situations. Now, as I mentioned, the Dutch are open-minded, very friendly people. They are very well known for their tolerance, which also means that foreigners are much more welcome in the Netherlands than in some other countries. The Dutch are also looking for highly skilled migrants. So unlike some countries where they're trying to protect their national interests, the Dutch actually realize, because they're a small country, they need the skills from other countries as well. And so they've created an orientation year permit. Now, this is specifically interesting for people who want to stay in the Netherlands after their studies, because it allows you to stay in the Netherlands for a whole year to look for a job. It's sort of like a carte blanche. You can really just go and you can do 10 jobs at the same time. You don't need a work permit during that year. Okay, so that covers the Netherlands a little bit. I do want to talk a little bit about our program before I talk about the motivation letter and how important that is. So our Master in Management program started a few years ago, and the last 2 years, to give you an example, We really have students coming from all over the world. Each year the demographics change slightly, but we have students from all the continents, making it an extremely international business school. In fact, we're ranked as the most international business school in the region. And it also means that from a cultural awareness point of view, you're not just going to learn about it theoretically, but you're going to experience it in the class itself. And that's something that it's one of the best ways to learn. Now, the class itself, like I mentioned, the MSM Business School, we focus on case-based learning, on real issues, something that's happening right now. But we're a small business school, which means that we are also able to know each student individually. The students aren't just a number, but we really have personal contact with each student. This is also very important, specifically for career services, which I'll mention just now. We have programs where the alumni support the students during the year at MSM. We have lecturers that come from all over the world, but also teach all over the world, and the same thing with the guest speakers, obviously. And then we have a very strong network of alumni, which students can also join and use for their projects. Now, the program itself is divided, well, it's a one-year program, first of all. And there are some core courses that students will cover. And the core courses cover everything in management that will help you get a more holistic view on business. So that would include accounting and finance and strategy and marketing and supply chain and management sciences and digital transformation and all those type of courses. And entrepreneurship, obviously, but it will also cover more practical courses. There's a group project where students are divided into groups and they work for a company's issue, and as a group they present their solution to the company, and depending on which group wins that, gets the best presentation, obviously there's a nice prize connected to that. And then also in the second half of the year, there's a supply chain project where students also get a bit more hands-on of seeing how everything is interlinked in a business. Now, when the students start working on their thesis, which is also part of the program, they can either do a pure academic paper, or they can add a practical element into it by working on a consulting project for a company and add this into their academic research paper. So some of the students opt to choose for this option, and so they work as external consultants for company during the year, and then they can combine this with their thesis. Now, something that's quite unique to the Master in Management program as well is the Personal Development program. This is a 3-credit course. And throughout the year, students will be getting some trainings in personal development skills. And these skills include influencing skills, negotiation skills, knowing your personal strengths and how to use this in your management style, leadership tips, body language, improvisation skills. So all the skills that you need to be able to work and lead in a team. And this is especially important when doing a Master in Management, because it's not just about the theory, it's not just about knowing things, but it's also about, applying this to yourself and being able to become a better person and a better manager because of that. And connected to this, and the Career and Personal Development track is then an optional thing that we add to the course, where students then also get some workshops in motivation letter writing or CV writing, interview techniques, networking skills, elevator pitches, all these type of trainings to make you more interesting from a career perspective, so that when you start looking for jobs, we will also help you to stand out. And this is especially important since a lot of students often come to the Netherlands with the hope of getting some international experience before they go back to their home countries. And because we're a small business school, we obviously have the advantage of being able to also help each student individually. Now, the Master in Management for this year, so the applications close for international students on the 1st of July. And this year's prices, the full tuition fee is 15,800 euros. That's a lot of money. The good news is that there are some scholarships available. Scholarships can be combined to a maximum of 50%. But generally speaking, you have to obviously be eligible to be able to apply to these scholarships. There are 1 or 2 scholarships that we've created to help students from emerging markets. The first one that we've created is the Dean's Development Fund. So the Dean's Development Fund is specifically aimed for emerging markets. And if you come from a country like, let's say Senegal or South Africa or Indonesia, and you go look on our webpage, you can see exactly what your discount will be for those countries. So there's also an early bird discount, and this is really important that I mention this because the deadline to benefit from the early bird is the 1st of May. But to benefit from this, you have to have already paid your tuition fee by the 1st of May. So which means that you need to apply now, get the interview done, get the invoice, and then make that payment, and then you get a discount. I think it's about 2,000 euros. So it is worthwhile benefiting from this early bird discount as well. We've also created a regional scholarship to help to encourage neighboring countries also to be connecting with the developing countries. And this is once again where MSM's motto or focus vision is about bridging the gap and working together for better global management. There are some other scholarships also available, the Academic Excellence and the Women in Leadership. And these 2 scholarships, the deadline the announcement on who will be getting these are on the 15th of June. So obviously, those are more where you really have to be eligible for this. Now, more details can be found on our website. There's a whole, all the criteria is clearly listed on the website for the scholarships. So please don't hesitate to check that or to contact us for more information. There is another scholarship which I haven't mentioned yet, and that's simply because for this year the deadline has already closed. But there are, every year there are a few countries that offer an Orange Tulip Scholarship. And if you are in one of those countries, and if you're planning to apply next year and not this year, it's worthwhile checking out the website NAFIC NISO or Orange Tulip Scholarship, and you'll be able to get more information on which countries are eligible for this scholarship. I just wanted to highlight this, that it's not for 2019, and so every year the scholarship amounts also change. So this is having to start checking next, end of this year, about November, to be able to apply for that. Okay, so now we start talking a bit more specifically about the admissions requirement for the Master in Management. Now, if you go onto our website, you'll also see much more detailed information about all the admissions criteria. But otherwise, just in a very short summary, the first thing that you need to know is that for the Master in Management, we normally look for people with either 0 experience, that they've just finished the bachelor degree and want to combine it with a management degree, up till about 3-4 years working experience. And there's a sort of a gray zone where we look at the motivation and ambition to see whether the person's a better fit for the Master in Management or for the MBA. Now, you will also obviously have to upload a few documents, and you do this by starting your application on our web portal, campus.msm.nl. And to do that, you need to upload, you create your profile, and then you need to upload a few documents. And those documents include a valid passport, your transcripts and degree, which need to be certified and in English, so translated if your degree was not in English. Letter of recommendation for the Master in Management. It can either be professional or academic. Proof of English, and there it's your IELTS or your TOEFL, or if you've studied in English, the proof that you studied in English. And all of that is very clearly described on our website. And then finally, the CV and the motivation letter. Now, the CV and the motivation letter do play quite an important role in the application. So it's important to make sure that you send an up-to-date CV mentioning your academic achievements, what you studied, but also your volunteer projects, your hobbies, and all of those type of things. For the motivation letter, and that's what we're here today for, the first thing I do need to mention is that there are clear instructions of what we are looking for a motivation letter on our website. So if you go under the admissions tab of the Master in Management program, you will see that there are 4 main themes or main topics that we ask you to cover in the motivation letter, and that's basically your motivation or why you're wanting to do this Master in Management program, your career, so how you're hoping that this is going to help you in the future, your personality, so weaknesses and strengths, and then your choices if you're looking at other programs as well, or other schools, and why one and the other. However, there are some tips on writing a good or a bad motivation letter, and so that's what I'm going to cover now with you. So I'm going to look at 3 things. The first thing I'm going to look at is why. Why is it important to write a good motivation letter? The second thing I will cover is the things that we have noticed some students do and that we would advise you to avoid. And thirdly, obviously, what we are looking for. Okay, so the first thing is why is it important? Well, a motivation letter shows more of your personality than a CV or a grade transcript. CV is a very factual, short document to the point, just covering the highlights of your career and your life, while a grade transcript only looks at your academic side. And neither of these things will give us a complete picture of who you are. And in the motivation letter, that's what the aim is to get to know you. So that's really important. Try to be as honest and personal as possible in this motivation letter. It's also important for us to make sure that you understand what the program is about, what the Master Management program expects of you, and that you've actually done your research about the program. So we like to see that you understand the program. We also like to see what your expectations are regarding the program, because maybe what you are expecting is just not something we are wanting to do. Maybe it's just not a good match, and in that case we also prefer being honest with you, because not everyone should or can be doing a Master in Management. It's also important part of our admissions review process. Like I mentioned, we do consider the motivation letter quite important. We get to see a bit how good your English is as well, your writing style, how you construct everything. But it will also influence the scholarship options. So there are 3 scholarship options where we look specifically at your academic excellence, at your motivation, and that's the Academic Excellence Scholarship, the Women Ambassador Scholarship, and then in the Orange Tulip Scholarship applications, we also really look at the motivation letters of the students to define who will be getting the scholarships or not. So writing a good motivation letter could also have a very big effect on the net tuition fee that you will be paying. Then, some things to avoid, some tips I would like to make sure that are very clear. The first thing is, please do not copy-paste your motivation letter and use it for every single school that you're applying to. This is extremely clear to us. And we can see it through the fact that it's too general, that you don't talk about MSM, that you just talk about yourself, and that's not the point. The point in the motivation letter is to show why you are a good fit with our program. So really make sure that your motivation letter is specific. And I can also add that this is not something just for MSM. I know that for business schools in general, this is a very important element, that they can see that you've done your research. So also be careful not to just copy, paste, and then sometimes students even forget to actually change the name of the program. So we receive a motivation letter, say, still using the name of other school that they were applying to, or a different program. So make sure that you clearly understand which program you're applying to and which school you're applying to. So don't mistake the two. Now, here in Maastricht, there is something that can be confusing, and I just do want to point that out. We have Maastricht, the University of Maastricht, and we have Maastricht School of Management. We are two different entities. The University of Maastricht is a big university, while we are a specialized management school. So make sure also that you know that you're applying to Maastricht School of Management and not to the University of Maastricht, because that also shows how well you've done your research. Okay. Another thing is, as we mentioned, so the self-awareness is quite important. As a manager, and if you want to become a good manager, you need to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Really good managers are aware of themselves and are not trying to hide this. So we want to also see that in your motivation letter. We want to see that you're honest. And we don't want to see some fake weaknesses. Now, when I say fake weaknesses, and I know this is the HR nightmare as well, is when we see stuff like I'm a perfectionist or I'm too hardworking. These are really the type of weaknesses that we immediately know that you're actually trying to sell yourself, self, because you think it's positive, but you're putting it in a negative way. So this is something to avoid. And then the other thing is, don't say you don't have any weaknesses. I have received motivation letters that say, oh, that the person doesn't really consider any weaknesses. And this is also something that does not reflect well on the person as a future manager. So be careful of these things. What is a tip, and this is also a tip for interviews, is when this question gets asked, what are your weaknesses? Mention rather a weakness that you're working on. So you can say that you've had a weakness, say now it's time management, but you've been working on this by improving and by putting certain things in your life so that time management isn't an issue anymore. So also show us that you're aware of your weaknesses and that you're working on it to improve it. So finally, what are we looking for in a candidate? And this is also very important for us to see in the motivation letter. Now, the first thing we know and we want you to understand is we don't expect people to all be the same. We understand that each manager, each leader, each person is unique. And you have different talents and different skills and different ways of doing things. And that's what we want. We want a very diverse group of students. So we want students coming from different backgrounds, different academic studies, different countries, different cultures, different races, different genders. That's also all very important for us, because in that way the group is going to be as holistic as possible. But in that, it is also important for us to for you to understand there are certain things that, even though we're looking for very separate, unique people, we are looking for certain things in those unique people. The first one is that you need to be open-minded. And this can be done through international awareness by having gone and traveled or studied abroad or worked abroad, or had an experience with students coming and working abroad, or in your country where you've worked with other nationalities. But it is really important to show that you're open to these international experiences, and that you're also willing to accept that your way isn't the only way or not the right way. So we call this the intellectual humility. So it's also really important to show us that you are open-minded. Another thing is, like I mentioned, we know that everyone is unique, but show us how you are unique. Show us what makes you different. So what are your passions? And more importantly, why are you doing things? What makes you tick? So we like to see this, because this also is going to be important for your future career, understanding the why of things. So try to focus on that. Then obviously, some people are have been born gifted, and academically sometimes things are just easier for them, but those aren't necessarily the people that we're just looking for. We want to see the hardworking people, the motivated people, the passionate people. So show us what you do to be passionate. Show us what makes you motivated. Show us that you're hardworking, that you don't have a I just want to pass type of mentality, but you really want to go and push yourself and really achieve great things in life. And that also is connected with the fact that we like to see well-rounded people. So in a lot of universities, it's only the A level or the people with the highest GPA that will get into a program. Here for us, it's more important for you to have a well-balanced background than necessarily be a straight A student. Because in the end, managers aren't the people that are good managers, or good leaders aren't the people that are just focusing on their numbers and facts, but it's about the everything and understanding life as a whole. And so that's also often reflected in the fact that people have some volunteer experience, and they've got some work experience, and they've done some internships during their studies, and did some sport or music. So show us all of these things, because this is something that that we enjoy seeing. And then finally, and this is very important to MSM specifically, is we want to see what really that you want to make a difference. We're not the type of business school that is looking for people that just want to get rich and work on Wall Street and drive in a Ferrari. We are looking for people that are wanting to make a difference to themselves, to the community, or to the world. But in any case, this is something that's really important for us, is to see the type of person you are and why you're doing this, and that the focus is on making a difference rather just than becoming rich and successful. That's all from my side. I don't know if we can switch over to the questions now.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Hermina.
Pleasure.
And now we will go to the questions, and I will ask everyone to type in their questions in the chat box. To the side on the navigation menu, there is a chat box, and you can just type in any questions that come to your mind, so that they can be addressed by Hermina. So we have a couple of questions coming in already, and I will try to arrange them somehow by topics so that we don't jump from topic to topic so much. Okay, we're expecting your questions in the chat box. In the main menu, there is an option, a question mark if you're using mobile, where when you click, there is an option to type in questions. Okay, let's go for the questions related first to the school itself. What makes MSM and Maastricht a unique location, unique as a location? I am also considering studying in Antwerp.
Okay, well, I've actually worked in Antwerp as well. I love Antwerp. It's an amazing city, and if it's the Antwerp Management School, I can also say it's an amazing school. So you can't go wrong in either place. Maastricht itself is smaller. It's a small student city, while Antwerp is quite big, and because of that, it's also safer. So Maastricht, I think, is one of the safest cities in the Netherlands, and definitely in the EU region. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, even though it's smaller, you feel at home immediately, but it's also big enough never to get bored. Now, what also makes Maastricht unique is, as I mentioned, it's sort of squished in between Belgium and Germany. So from an international point of view, you're literally on two very important borders. Students obviously enjoy a lot of weekend trips, even though they have a lot of assignments. I'm not saying it's just a fun ride the whole way through, but students do, because of the location, they are quickly in a lot of major cities. So an hour and a half from Antwerp, an hour from Brussels, 2 hours from Amsterdam, 2 hours from, an hour from Cologne, 3 hours from Paris, 3 hours from London. So that also makes it quite unique. And there's less traffic. Antwerp, I think, is one of the worst cities in Europe for traffic. So what's really nice about the Netherlands in general, but in Maastricht even more so, is the cycling. All our students, when they come here, you see them cycling around like crazy, and they often say this is a very unique experience for them as well.
Okay, great. A lot of benefits to studying at Maastricht. Another question related to the school and to overall residing in the Netherlands. What are the document requirements if you're a European Union student and would like to work and live in the Netherlands after graduation?
Okay.
And maybe I could add also, if you can make a parallel between EU students and non-EU students. Probably yeah. This is one of the bigger differences.
Exactly. So the EU students have a massive advantage in that sense, is because obviously because of the EU, you don't need specific visas or permits to be able to find a job. So there is a huge advantage to being an EU student. So document-wise, there are quite a few things you won't have to prove because you won't need the visa. For the international students, there are effectively a few more documents that you need to fill in. Now, don't worry about that, in the sense that our admissions office are there to help you with that. They really guide you throughout the process. And more specifically, MSM stands as guarantee for you, for your visa. So because of this, very rarely is a visa rejected. However, there are a few criteria that is very important for your visa, for us to be able to make your visa application. And the two biggest ones are both financially related. So the first thing that you have to be able to do is pay the first installment, which is 50% of your net tuition fee. So you have to pay that by the 15th of July. We need that because since we're guaranteeing that you are coming to MSM, we need to be able to prove to the Dutch government that you are coming to MSM. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that is very important is that you need to prove that you have on your bank account the living money available for living expenses for 1 year. And the Dutch government has established that to be round about 12,000 euros. That's what they expect for your food and housing and everything for the year. And so the Dutch government wants to make sure that you're not going to go hungry or homeless during the year. And so they need you to prove to them that you have that money available, you or a sponsor, but that someone can cover you and make sure that you will not be homeless during your year at MSM.
Okay, perfect. So now we will go to questions related a little bit more to the main topic, the motivation letter. Does the motivation letter need to be personalized?
Definitely. That's sort of what I was trying to explain. We need to know about you. So we need to know why you want to come to us and why you're a good fit for our program. So we want to see that you've done your research. We want to see that you understand that you are applying to MSM and to the Master in Management program, and why you're doing this. So it definitely has to be personalized. And this is for any school. Obviously, you wouldn't then say to them that you're applying to MSM, you change the name, but you really need to show why each motivation is personalized. That's very important.
Okay. What should be the tone of the letter? Can I bring some humor?
I like humor. I can't speak for other schools, but generally speaking, remember, this is a business school, so it can't be too informal. The writing needs to be in a well-structured way, not using slang. So it still needs to be of a professional level. But obviously, humor, if it's in a good context, is always welcome.
Okay. I have professional experience. Should I highlight that in the motivation letter? A question by George.
The professional experience is always welcome. However, if there's too much professional experience, like I said, more than 3 years, then we start recommending the person to consider the MBA instead, because after that, the group dynamics change too much. If someone's got 15 years work experience, we just won't accept the person into the Master in Management. Now, highlighting this in the motivation letter, obviously, this will make a big part of why you're doing a Master in Management with your work experience. Mention to us then what your career plans are and why you are now deciding to focus on a Master in Management. So yes, definitely it will need to be mentioned in your motivation letter.
Okay, and a couple of final questions. I would ask anyone having any questions to type them in the chat box, or there is a question mark button if you're joining us through mobile. You can click on it and ask us questions. We have a couple of final questions if there aren't any others popping out. So one of the questions is, what should the format be for the motivation letter, and what the preferred length would be?
Yeah, so that is in the guidelines that you can find on our website. So as I mentioned in the presentation, if you go into the tab Admission Requirements, you'll see a link to the guidelines for the motivation letter. And so we also recommend a certain font type, so Helvetica or Arial, just because it looks better. But we also recommend 3 to 4 pages to be able to cover in depth all the different categories that we want you to show to us.
Okay, great. On the document side, there's another question that came in. What is the TWV, and do I need it to work there?
The TWV is something to do with work permits, which is done afterwards. So that's nothing to do with beforehand. But everything that's documents, when you start applying really specifically, this is something that our recruitment team will put you in contact with our admissions team, and they will really be guiding you and giving you all the specific details of what they need. But the TWV is something that's only for later. It's your work permits, visa, work permit, student permit thing. And so that's not something you worry about right now.
I see. Okay, well, to wrap up, I'm reading out the final question, and it's related to careers as well. Since we're on the subject anyways. Since you are also a career advisor, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how your university assists graduates to find a job, and how is that worked out after graduating? I mean, how you mentioned that there is 1 year where they can stay and work. So how do you assist students in that?
Okay, so that is obviously a very important part for students, and we realize that, and that's also why we spend a lot of time during the year helping students. So the Career and Personal Development track has been created for this purpose, and it's done on an individual basis where when a student starts applying for jobs, we also help with mock interviews and reviewing their motivation letter and the CV that they want to send for the job. So we really go and work individually with each student. We also have peer groups where we work on personal development together in the peer group. So we have 2 to 3 sessions per year where we really look at their goals and how that's going and how we can help with that. But then we also give workshops on specific issues that the Dutch market needs or look for to make our students stand out. Like I mentioned, there are sessions on interview techniques. There are sessions on how to look for jobs in the Netherlands. There's sessions on how to write a good CV, how to write a good motivation letter, networking skills, and all of those things. That being said, that's not enough, obviously. Students need to be able to practice this. So we organize sessions where companies come to MSM and students can work with them. So we have what we call our corporate week. So that's coming up actually this now in June for our students. So from 17th to the 21st of June this year. We'll be doing the 3rd edition already, where companies come for a whole week and talk to students about job openings, what they're looking for, what their students should do to stand out. So students then also hear it from a different perspective. Students also go to career fairs, in the Netherlands during the year as well to help them. Now, all of that being said, I do need to highlight that we do not find the job for the students. Now, when job openings come through to MSM, and a lot of companies contact us for this, we do send through these job opportunities to the students. There's a job portal for the students, a specific one created to help students find jobs in the Netherlands, where they're specifically looking for foreign students. So we do whatever we can. We provide you, the students, with all the tools to be able to find a job. But in the end, it's up to the student to sell themselves in front of the interviewer. Now, a second thing I do need to mention, and I prefer being honest about this, is it is more difficult for a foreign student than for a local student to find a job in the Netherlands. That makes sense. It would be the same in your country. However, there are things that make an international student also interesting for companies, and we really focus on that with the students. So we show them what they can do to highlight their uniqueness to the companies to stand out. And this has been very successful. So last year, a lot of our master management students, nearly about 50% of the students, had already found jobs before graduating, and the other 50% within 3 to 4 months had already found a job. So right now, our master management students, most of them found jobs either in the Netherlands or because that was their plan. They went back to their country either to continue working where they already were working, that's also an option, or they found a better position in their country. So each student obviously has different needs, different wants, but we also support them and help them with that.